Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I've been an educational consultant for, subhanAllah, probably about over a decade now, and moved around the world working with different schools, different projects. And I was a teacher at the beginning as well. So I've been in the classroom, I've been on the ground, and I've been in the management. I've seen the curriculum. I was part of the curriculum and also part of overlooking curriculum, looking at curriculum, designing curriculum. So I have, what I'm trying to say, quite some extensive experience in education. One thing that is in the mind, the Muslim, 21st century Muslim parent, is this: should I homeschool my child or not? So they asked me, what do you think? Brother Gabriel, what do you think with your experience when it comes to homeschooling? And yes, I've had a chance to look at homeschooling programs. I've experienced homeschooling. I've been to many schools. I've taught in many schools. I've worked with many schools. What is my take on this as an educational consultant, as a school principal, as a counselor? There are pros and cons. I know that a lot of Muslims might expect me to say now, yeah, go for the homeschooling, protect your children. And I do, I believe that. But it depends as well. So, what are the pros and the cons? And then you make your decision, inshallah, based on what I say and what I show you. The pros are obviously your child is protected to an extent. They stay at home. They are guided on a certain pace, and they can finish things much faster. They can focus better. It is within the comfort of the home. But most parents choose to homeschool because of the safety, not putting their children out there to be exposed during the formative stages to very interesting haram things that in many schools, including Islamic schools, all it takes is for a child to say, hey guys, come see what my cousin showed me yesterday. Boom, pornography enters the Islamic school. Yes, it does. Or all it takes is for one of the boys to just play around with another boy, and boom, other things happen. So yes, the parents who make that decision is usually the main intention is to protect the child from the evils of the world, from the haram that infiltrates in the schools. Public schools, let's not even talk about it. I mean, they teach you that part of the curriculum. And that's another thing what they want to protect their children from. The curriculum itself that talks about all kinds of things. Ethics means nothing anymore. Gender means nothing anymore within these schools. So most parents will try to do that. As I said, those are some of the main positives, right? Supervision, safety, an accelerated pace in the curriculum because you can go much faster, as there's a lot of time lost within school transition and so on. I'll talk about it. And being able to choose the curriculum and what you're going to supplement the curriculum with. Remember, don't misunderstand the curriculum for resources. So these are books. I can use these books to teach certain parts of the curriculum. The curriculum is just the outline. By the end of this class, you'll be able to learn this, this, this. Depends what I'm going to use to teach them. So for example, in literacy, if you are teaching syntax or composition or whatever, you can use, instead of using the books that the non-Muslim curriculum give you, you can use Islamic books to teach your children the same objectives. So the curriculum has objectives, and those objectives have to be fulfilled to be able to get the accreditation or whatever to qualify that you've graduated from the curriculum. So it depends in which country you are and what regulations, what the Ministry of Education allows or doesn't allow. So you need to look at that. But in most cases, you can use whatever resources you want. So when you homeschool, you can use your own resources, as opposed to the teacher showing them a film about two fathers or two mothers. You can show them a film about mother and father that you've screened and you've looked at, right? So that is there. As I said, of course, it's comfortable. It's in the house. You can eat, you can this, you can that. There's a lot to it. The cons. When it comes to safety, and I do believe, yes, especially the young age, because they're protected during the formative stages, where if they see something wrong and if they're exposed to something wrong, it will have a higher impact on the way their personality shapes and the way they will be in adulthood. What I'm trying to say is when you're young, if you are exposed to negative things, evil things, it really has a stronger effect on you, and it shapes your personality and your inclination towards that evil. Depends on what you were doing, pleasure, this, that. And it changes the way your brain reacts to seeing these stimuli. So yes, I believe that that is a strong point for homeschoolers to protect their children in the formative stages, young. The problem is that once you finish and graduate, you're going to have to somehow, depends on what's going to happen in the next 5 years, and now with the lockdowns and COVID and all that, education is changing drastically. Even qualifications, universities are changing drastically. So the environment is more controlled. But let's say, for the sake of argument, that things open up. People will have to go to university if they will go to learn, to study, and whatnot. Now, I believe many people can do amazing in life with business, with skills. And yes, some great companies now, corporations, they hire people just based on skills, not on education. But as we know, I'm not sure if there will be such a major change within the next 20 years. So still education is there, a degree is still needed. People still look at CVs and look at education. So when you send them out there in the world, so let's say if they've done preschool, primary school, junior, and even senior homeschooling. And now parents are saying, scratching their heads, oh, so what do you want to be now? Oh, I want to be an engineer. Oh, okay, we're going to have to send you to university. Send them to university. The child doesn't have exposure whatsoever to the real world. It's been very, very protected. And they get shocked. They don't know how to deal with certain things. Now, if the child's been trained, though, by the parents, and there's what I call guided exposure. Part of this, let's say, you have one subject within social studies, right? In these, you can talk to your child, expose them with guidance. What does guided exposure mean? It means you can talk to them, for example, about intimacy, masturbation, pornography, about zina, homosexuality, all these things that are evil and existing in our societies, kufr and so on, boyfriend, girlfriend, this, that. But you explore with them the different avenues of understanding this and why it's haram. What does Allah say about this? What are the outcomes of doing these things? Talk about STDs, talk about broken homes, fatherless children, motherless children. Many things you can guide and expose them to these things, so just for them to know and know how to deal with these situations when they are faced with them, inshallah, in the future. So if you do release them into the world, they're trained. They have guided exposure, right? They're not just like never seen anything. So let me try, maybe I should understand. And then because they've never built any immunity to that system, they lose themselves. All right, so I believe that yes, if you do guided exposure, if you protect your children in the formative stages, homeschooling is much, much better. Another challenge to homeschoolers, so it's a con I would say, is the lack of social interactions. So parents who homeschool, you have to look at that because children can suffer from social anxiety, from lack of social skills because they haven't been, in a classroom setting. You've not been in the real world. You've not been dealing with some conflict. Someone pushes you, someone says something about you. This is part of natural development, right? The Sahaba were in the community and society. There was conflict, there was this, there was that. It is part of that. So if the child is never exposed to socializing the positives and the negatives, they're not able to deal with some of these problems. So that you need to think about. Going out, having outings, friends, and so on and so forth. So my recommendation is to take care of that. There has to be a community around homeschooling. Homeschooling cannot be done unless there's a community of homeschoolers that would fill in the gaps for the things that are missing from the homeschooling system that standard schools would offer, right? With standard schools, it's a big problem, the transition. I believe that whatever they spend 8 hours in a school, you can do it in 4 or 3 without removing the transition time, going to your locker, removing things, going to the bathroom, eating, this, that. There's a lot of time wasted in school, subhanAllah. So, but again, we have to fill in the gaps. We have to make sure that we look at the pros and the cons. So which one do I side with? I believe homeschooling is great. I believe it's important. Can everyone do it? No. It has to be a great agreement between husband and the wife. The whole family, actually, everyone has to participate because it's not easy. A lot of times the man will just throw it onto the woman. Fine, if you're working, you're providing the money, make sure then you're providing the money. Maybe then you're going to have to provide some support at home. I don't know. Certain things will have to be basically done. Either if you delegate or you hire someone for certain things, for certain subjects, for certain activities, or parents cross and they help each other. So, for example, let's say there's a mother who's really good at something, and another one will do something else. So she takes the children, takes them out, takes care of the social part. The other one will take the children for another aspect of the homeschooling system. There has to be help and support. وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى. You have to help each other in righteousness and taqwa. So, yes, I believe the way the system works is the man, if you really think about homeschooling, you have to have a good income. You have to really provide certain things for your family so that things become easier. So then the mother, who's so important at home, will be basically the one running the program. And unless the man can follow up with the Quran, for example, Islamic studies or certain things, take the kids out for the activities, especially the boys, the physical activities and so on, because they need that. They need that part of socializing. But basically, some pressure will have to be removed from the woman so that she can focus on that. And that's why, women play such an important role when it comes to the family. And that's why when they go to their careers and they want to be out like men and so on, they're basically overlooking and putting down on their priority list the most important one, which is their kids, right? So that's something we have to keep in mind and understand so that we can do well. So keep in mind these things, inshallah, when you look at whether you want to homeschool or not. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help you make the right decision, make your istikhara. Assalamu alaikum. Don't forget to subscribe and like this channel and contribute bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Check the description, click the link, and become a patron to support us to make more videos like this where we help parents, Muslims around the world to understand Islam better and to face the challenges of the 21st century. Assalamu alaikum.